Well, the FBI, after successfully hacking into that San Bernardino shooter's phone, well, it dropped its case against Apple, but a lot of uncertainty, of course, remains because there are a lot of other cases. In fact, more than 1,000 smartphones and devices remain locked without access to evidence. It's University of Maryland PhD Director Tim Summers on where these cases go from here. Tim, it's one thing I think with the FBI, and it's another thing when the police departments say, hey, we want the same key, well, I'm sure they're asking for it. Will they get it?
Well, that's a tough question right now, Charles. I mean, here's the situation. The FBI has shown that they can get access to these devices, and now companies like Apple really have to ask the question of, what does this really mean for us? And I think we're going to be seeing a lot of indications of Apple making more security mechanisms in their devices coming in the future.
Oh, there's no doubt. I think I read somewhere where Tim Cook is like, first of all, it's going to be a heck of a selling feature for regular folks and certainly for terrorists and criminals. But having said that, though, at the moment, the FBI's got the key. And why wouldn't they share it? Why wouldn't they use it? Why wouldn't they help to solve some of these crimes that these 1,000 other devices are associated with?
Right, right. And here's the thing, right? When we think about what's going on now, especially with the situation in Belgium, right, there's even been the Belgian government's even asked about some devices that they have and whether or not the FBI can help with those. So the FBI, now here's an interesting point for the FBI actually has no legal obligation to share with Apple how they've actually gotten into these devices.
Yeah, I know. This is how this whole thing's backfired on Apple, which apparently has asked the FBI for, hey, where'd you get this from? A lot of scuttlebutt about this one particular company out in Israel having helped them. But Apple also has said, and a lot of libertarians find this also are saying, this key has been made, it's been created. Ultimately, it's going to get into the hands of the bad guys. Certainly, the more the FBI shares it, the more likely that could come to fruition. Is that a concern?
Yes. It's definitely a concern. Now, the sources that I've communicated with actually have shown that, or said really, that this might be a situation where the FBI has dealt with a private entity, and we've talked about this company, the potential company in Israel. But at the end of the day, we must remember that many of the manufacturers that produce these devices, they're not aware of all of the holes in them. And so the hacking community is where companies and the FBI are finding out about a lot of these flaws. The hackers are then able to share or sell those exploits to the FBI or to Apple or Google.
Well, maybe in this case, Apple should have contacted the Israeli company before the, because I read where a bill was, the bill was for like less than 300 grand. I don't know if that was a total payment, but apparently there was a bill or an invoice to this company from the federal government. And, to this case, they should have gotten a lot more. But on a final thought here, Tim, where do you see this going? Because we know this privacy battle is going to rage on for a very long time. We know it became more intense after the Edwin Snowden affair. Where do you see it going ultimately?
Well, there's a recent Pew study that showed that about 50% of Americans felt that the FBI should have gotten help from Apple to get into this device. But there were another 38% who said, well, we don't think Apple should have to help. But here's the thing. Most Americans do believe that if it's a terrorist situation, and of course emotions are high after a situation like that the government should have all the evidence and information that it needs. However, consumers get a little itchy when it comes to their private information.
Right.
And so what I think we're going to see going forward
Tim, I'm sorry. I got to cut you off. We have some major breaking news that are coming out, but great stuff, and we'll get you back real soon.